The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
All right, welcome back to the Weekend Sports Wrap. So that was When Will I Be Famous with Bros. So you remember that song, Troy? That's a mad song from back in the 90s there.
Yes, I do remember that song. I think it went pretty high up on the charts. I think it was it two brothers, Luke and Matt Goss, was it?
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
they were the
it
singers.
was. Two blonde guys. It was big back in the day, so I'm pretty sure you remember the same things I remember. Reactor One and all this stuff of Peppers back in the 90s.
Yeah, it was a massive hit, and I think they were one-hit wonders, weren't they?
They were, yeah. So was that getting smashed around a fair bit at the Daily Planet and
Yes.
all these places. Samantha's and all these different places out here, the Snake Pit and places out around the Hawkesbury too. So got big numbers. They were one-hit wonders, right up there with some of the big ones as well, like Dexy's Midnight Runners up there as well. Come On Eileen and all that sort of stuff. Although that was much earlier vintage, that one.
Yeah, definitely that one was. But brings back some memories of the good old days, I guess, of the clubbing days. I'm well past those days now, though.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we'll get into it anyway. The State of Origin overnight. Did you catch it on Wednesday?
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't have missed it for anything. But, what a game. What a game that was from New South Wales. What a first half. It was the biggest first half ever in State of Origin, 34 points to 0. And I think that eclipsed the Queensland record of 21 points in 1983. So what a first half. It absolutely set up the game win for New South Wales on Wednesday.
Oh, absolutely. So, if anything, I'm a bit disappointed. I would have thought New South Wales should have been able to put at least 60 on Queensland because Queensland were not good.
It was,
so in the first half.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a disappointing second half. As you just said, I was expecting them to at least put 50 on. I think I put an Instagram post on, story on going saying if New South Wales score 50 points, does that mean Queensland can't win the series? But obviously Queensland stepped it up in the second half somehow and managed to score those 3 tries.
So the big thing I took out of that game looking at that, so we'll talk about the breakdown of it shortly. In the second half, Queensland just went out there and New South Wales made errors and Queensland scored in the back of 3 New South Wales errors, but they spoiled New South Wales game and just started just doing some chippy niggling stuff. And New South Wales just forgot all about what they had to do. And being 34-0 up, you effectively now I'm not saying they did put the cue on the rack, but I don't reckon they look like they came out as hard in the second half as what they did in the first half. And if they had had that killer attitude, it may well have been way over 50. So wasn't the case that we end up getting the same score, ironically, the same as the first game when Queensland beat us 38 points to 18.
Yeah, well, I think maybe it just shows you the worth of Liam Martin in this side with his defence because him and Pat Carrigan got sin bin in the 50th minute, both of them. So both teams were down to 12 for a ridiculous sin binning. I don't even know what it was for. But Queensland scored 2 converted tries in that time that Liam Martin was off. So maybe it just shows you how much he is worth in defence as Queensland scored 2 converted tries in that time whilst he was in the sin bin. And, yeah.
Yeah, it's right. So who got man of the match for the game?
Mitchell Moses. So he equalled Brad Fittler's record of 4 try assists in the game. There was the pass to Liam Martin for his try. There was a kick for Brian To'o, I think it was his second try. The kick across field for Zach Lomax took as they would call it down in Melbourne, a specky, and got the ball down, and there was one more try that he assisted in. So he equalled Brad Fittler's record from 2000 for 4 try assists. A well-deserved man of the match performance. I was actually watching it and thinking, look, he's not really doing anything spectacular, but he's just taking the game by control, taking control of the game, and just his kicking game was on point, and he just looked so sort of, I guess, I know he would have been under a lot of pressure going into this game and during the game as well, but he just looked so calm and relaxed, and he just did his job, and it was great to see Mitchell get the man of the match and New South Wales the win.
Yeah, that's right. So for people that don't know, when Brad Fittler got those 4 try assists, I'm pretty sure that's the day Ryan Girdler got 32 points. New South Wales beat Queensland, 56-16 or 56-10 or something like that.
Yeah.
And that changed how they treated First State of Origin after that. Everyone thought it was dead, and it wasn't. Queensland actually won the next year, I think. But New South Wales, so New South Wales put 10 tries on them that day, something like that, 9 or 10 tries. So a couple extra, but what Mitchell Moses did was extraordinary. It was a good game that he had. Indeed, I just wondered where Liam Martin must stack right up there, seriously, for what he does. Him and Angus Crichton, they pretty much laid the groundwork there through the middle, along with Payne Haas going forward too.
Yeah, definitely. Angus Crichton, again, is showing his worth on the market. He's increasing his value, that's for sure, because just over the last, I guess, 2 months, Angus Crichton has performed great at Roosters level, but also at State of Origin level. In Game 1, he was one of the best players as well, along with Liam Martin as well in Game 1 and Game 2. Payne Haas, he was ridiculous. A lot of criticism about him in State of Origin, that he hasn't really cracked it in that arena, but after 30 minutes he already had run 130 metres, so some players don't even run that amount of metres in a game, let alone in 30 minutes. So yeah, a great game by everyone. I honestly you could have probably given the man a match to anybody in that New South Wales team, because they all played as a team and they got the result, and there was no real massive standout. They were all just good in what they did.
Yeah, see what I was surprised about. I saw the stats at half time, so 'cause I only saw most of the first half, but I was at the gym, so when it was on. So I didn't know New South Wales put 34 on at half time. I just knew they'd put 5 tries on, I'd seen the 5 tries. So, and then I was just going past TV on the way out of the gym and went, it's 34-0. I couldn't believe it. So, but a massive effort, 21 out of 22 sets of 6 or something like that. So that was absolutely crazy. The handling was near perfect. New South Wales just executed everything perfectly, and I just think they took the foot off the pedal a bit, because they, you subconsciously do it. I've been in teams where you start whacking another team and you start to like inadvertently muck around a bit, or don't stick 100% to the game plan, and that take the foot off the pedal a little bit, and you just lose a bit of intensity, because not that you know the job's done, but you don't have to do as much to stay in front.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it's a little bit of a mind game as well. When you are 34 points in front and then the halftime break comes along, you probably suffer that little bit of a downtime during that halftime break, and maybe it takes a little bit to get back into the second half. New South Wales didn't score their last try in the 61st minute to Dylan Edwards on debut, who had a great game as well. So it took them 21 minutes to score their 7th and last try. But yeah, maybe it is a mind thing that they were 34 points in front. And maybe it could have been just a thing that Queensland decided, look, we're going to have to do something here, and they ended up scoring some tries. Who knows? But we have seen teams in the past like that, not necessarily State of Origin teams, but club teams that have got out to a massive lead at half time. I remember Parramatta got over to a massive lead against the Dolphins last year up there on the Sunshine Coast, and as Parramatta fans, we all thought they were going to put 50, 60 on them, but they didn't. I think they only scored another try in the second half as well. So, yeah, it could be a little bit of a mind thing. It could also be that the opposition just really wants to get back in the game and steps it up themselves.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I commentated the game last weekend, St Mary's versus St Clair, and that game didn't go how I thought it would. It was 40-0 at half time, St Clair over St Mary's, and in the end, it ended up being 52 points to 18, something like. I thought they were going to get mercied out of the game. So if you hit 60 points or 60-point differential in rugby league, the game can get ended there, so under the mercy rule. So for all money, even St Mary's thought it was going to happen, and it didn't happen. So hopefully never see that in the NRL level. Like, that would be absolutely terrible for the game. It would have been bad for the game to have a massive blowout. Like, people talk about it because they had the big scores back in the day, 85-5 Canterbury versus the Roosters in that 1935, and St George beat Canterbury, I think, 91 points to 6 or something like that back at the same time. Could you imagine that happening now? So someone putting 20 tries on a team, whatever, like it would be the worst game ever. They're not good to watch when they're massive blowouts.
Yeah, well, there was an example of that last weekend, actually. The Titans beating the Warriors 66 points to 6, 11 tries to 1. That game was 30-0 at half time, and they managed to put on another 36 points in the second half. So, yeah, we do see the blowout scores like that. And in this competition, the NRL competition anyway, this year we are starting to see the bigger scores later on in the season. A lot of teams are having injuries and on origin and fatigue. Even players that are playing are having little niggling injuries as well. So we are starting to see some of those big scores. Even the Tigers, they scored 48 points last week against the Raiders. And when was the last time we saw the Tigers score 48 points? So there is a lot of points being scored these days.
Yeah, it's right, 100%. We won't dwell too much on this, though, Roger. Now let's talk about who's going to go into what team and that. We've got a couple of weeks to talk about that for the next game, so we'll let it all...
Interesting thing is that we go up to Game 3 at Suncorp. Queensland are obviously going to the favourites, but New South Wales have only won 2 deciders up in Queensland, and that was in 1994 and 2005. So it's been 19 years since they've won a decider up in Queensland, so their backs are up against the wall.
Yeah, well, Queensland trying to say they're massive underdogs on it's a shoe-in for New South Wales. That they have to do it right, because the odds would tell you that it's against New South Wales, just because they haven't been able to get a job done consistently over a long period of time. So Queensland want to be the underdogs, otherwise it just doesn't work for them for whatever reason. We'll kick on there anyway. Women's State of Origin last night. Queensland, they had a comprehensive 22 points to 6 win in the third match up at Townsville, similar to the second match actually, with stacks of rain there. And Taryn Aiken, she had an amazing game. And talking about Emma Tonegato, I reckon she had a terrible game for New South Wales, just a bad game, missing tackles, dropped balls and all that sort of stuff. So New South Wales really didn't play very well last night in the Women's State of Origin, did they?
No, and it was pretty disappointing to see. I think New South Wales, obviously they won Game 1, so they were the better team that day. They were the better team in most of game number 2, although Queensland got that victory. New South Wales were in control of that game for a long time, and it wasn't until near the end that Lauren Brown kicked the field goal and won Game 2. But New South Wales, they were never in the game, unfortunately, last night up against this Queensland side. A full house up there at Townsville. A lot of people before the game were probably expecting it to be nice and dry and fast, but unfortunately there were heavy showers during the game, so that probably didn't help. And then Queensland scored their first try through Ivania Paletti in the first minute, so it didn't start off too well for New South Wales. and they were just always on the back foot. A little bit of frustration got into their game. I think Grace Kemp gave away a penalty shortly after a drop ball over the line, and New South Wales unfortunately were just never in the game. And I think the elder players, I guess you could say, of Queensland, like you, Ali Brigginshaw, an absolute champion of the game, took control of it. As you said, Taryn Aiken as well. She laid on the first pass for that first try. And Lauren Brown as well. Her goal kicking 3 from 3. And unfortunately, Queensland got the victory 22 points to 6 and won the first ever Game 3 series in Women's State of Origin.
So it's very good, but I think it was good. So one of the big criticisms but has been out there now has been that they played at the wrong time of the year, that women's NRL doesn't even start yet for another how many ever weeks, and I just think they missed an opportunity here. The WNRL really should be 2 full rounds. They could have played it even after 4 matches, start playing it like they played it out of season. Like, it's in sync with when State of Origin is, but why is the women's game out of sync? That doesn't need to be that much out of sync. We've got 10 teams now. Surely you can play each other at least once each, probably twice each. That's tough there. And the other takeaway, I suppose, Kylie Hole, the New South Wales coach, she's under pressure now. From New South Wales media. They weren't happy how she did the job. She had a 1. I wonder if they would have signed her again, looked at her as a superstar. But Jamie Sowell came out today and said, now I'm not saying the job's available, but if it is, I want the job. So it's pretty a big shot across the bow, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And whenever a State of Origin series is lost, always the losing coach is under pressure. I guess unless it's your first year in the job, you've got to give obviously 2 years to prove your worth. But any losing State of Origin coach is always under pressure to keep their job, and I guess Jamie's just putting himself out there, noticeable to the New South Wales Rugby League, that he's available and he would take the job if need be. I mean, he's doing a pretty reasonable job down at St George. There's a few St George players in this side, and apparently from all reports he has a good rapport with his players, so that will be an interesting one there. Look, about the State of Origin season and when it is played for the women, it is a very interesting one. There is competitions, I think, going on up in Queensland for the women. I'm not 100% sure about New South Wales. I think a few New South Wales players do go up to Queensland to play in that, to get some match fitness and to play rugby league. The NRLW, I think, starts in about 29 days, 30 days, so it's a month away. And I guess it's probably not a professional game for the women at the moment. A lot of them, or if not all of them, still have jobs to work as well. So I guess, and when it turns professional and the women don't have to work to make a living and play rugby league, I think then we might see more rounds of NRLW, and also potentially that'll mean that the State of Origin quality will be better, because they're obviously playing more football against NRL teams, NRLW teams, and then the State of Origin quality would be better. I mean, they were still great games, all 3 of them. But I guess the timing was probably the wrong thing, I guess, for the players. But my other question to yourself as well, the women play 70 minutes. Could they play 80 minutes in a game?
Oh, I invoiced Penrith for 80-minute games for commentating women's games, so they could, but they've got the ability to do it. If you need to make it unlimited subs to help them with fatigue and that start off with, why not? So that would be a minor adjustment to make.
It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to ask the players what they would think if they would like to play 80 minutes or not as well, I guess.
Well, it's a fair argument. If you're going to get them to play 80-minute games, how to put them on like the minimum bench level marks at the NRL players, I think they'd be pretty happy with that, because I'm not sure some of their players are on 80 to 100K, which I think the minimum NRL players on these days. But yeah, that would be a fair argument there if you were doing that. I'd be happy if it's staying 70 minutes and work on improving the number of matches they got. So, we've got 9 now, so let's work on 9. Let's start the comp a little bit earlier. I know they're trying to run it so it finishes on grand final day and all this sort of stuff, but I don't know. I just think they've just got it the wrong way around here, so they could do this a lot better if they looked at it. But we'll leave that for another day. Let's go into NRL games now. So it is a reduced round again. But tonight we're going to see the Bulldogs take on the Sharks. So the Bulldogs a bit under strength here. I'm not sure if Stephen Crichton's playing tonight. I don't blame him if he doesn't play or doesn't want to play. So he had a massive game the other day too. But the Sharks are pretty much at full strength. I have to say, if the Sharks drop this game even though they're second in the comp, if they win it, they'll be leading the comp. If they drop the game, their season may well be cooked, right? Because the Bulldogs are pretty much up for the taking here. And I can't remember who I tipped. I might have tipped the Bulldogs for this one. I don't think I did, but the Sharks, they're going to wear some mental scars if they drop some of these matches with a full strength team.
Yeah, definitely. That they do have that full strength team. I think Sifa Talakai plays his 100th NRL game for the Sharks tonight. They do have a 4-point buffer between them and the Roosters and Dolphins, who are 4th and 5th on the ladder. But you would think that those two teams would get a win this weekend, which would raise them to 22. So the Panthers are also on 24 as well. So they wouldn't want to drop too many games, and they would have gone in, or they would go into this game thinking that they would win this game, and the Bulldogs are a good time to take them. I cannot see if Stephen Crichton is playing. I could only imagine that he would somehow. He's on the extended bench. I haven't seen the final teams for the Bulldogs, as it's only an hour and 15 away. But in saying that, it's a pretty, take out Stephen Crichton, it's a pretty still strong side that the Bulldogs have got. So, and it will be an interesting game. It is at a core stadium. Yeah, I don't know. I tipped the Bulldogs in this game, but you are right in what you say. This game is one that the Sharks probably had circled and have circled in recent weeks as a win, because they're pretty much full strength. So they'll want to get it and just keep their position in the top 4 a bit more, have that buffer a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, that's right. Next game here, so both these sides are struggling. One of them had their biggest ever loss last week, and the other side is struggling too. The Warriors and Broncos, big things were expected of both sides at the start of the year. The Warriors are close to full strength, even though they got tapped up last week by the Gold Coast. I think the Warriors are going to be burning, and they're going to be pretty good. And the Broncos have sat everyone that plays State of Origin out. None of them are playing, and I think the Broncos are going to have a few hazards and bumps here at the moment until Adam Reynolds comes back. They need a halfback, someone going forward, because Adam Reynolds, I just don't think he's got it in his body now to keep on going. He might, even if he gets through another year, I think he's only going to be looking at like 12 to 15 games max, right? He's just, I don't think his body can do it anymore.
Yeah, I'm not too sure how far away Adam Reynolds is from returning, but the Broncos aren't the team of last season. They're hanging in there at the moment in 7th spot, and they will probably take this game as a game that they need to win as well, just to stay in that top 8, as there's a lot of teams. There's 5 teams on 18 points at the moment on the ladder. So, look, the Warriors, they will be wanting to bounce back after last week's massive loss against the Titans, which I just mentioned before. No Sean Johnson, he's gone for about a month, 5 weeks, I think with an Achilles injury, so he's out unfortunately. For the Warriors, Dallin Watene-Zelezniak returns. this one is over in New Zealand. They are expecting a big crowd over there, as their crowds have been sellouts for all year. I haven't seen whether it is a sellout for this one. 13th playing 7th. I have tipped the Broncos, even with their Origin players out. But in this game, I think maybe the Warriors could get the win, just to show their desperation, because they are sitting in 13th spot on the ladder at the moment. So they're not having a season that they would think they would have either, especially after last year.
Yeah, I think they've got the ability to be a lot better than what they are and still swing it in and roll up further up the comp. They haven't got any major injuries or anything, so it's just a matter of time to either get it together or they're just going to miss the 8. They've got a couple of weeks to sort it out, then it's going to be hard after that. The next game, the Knights up against the Eels. I know you'll probably be going for the Eels tomorrow with that one. I think I've gone for the Knights because I'm pretty sure they're close to full strength, the Knights, and they're a bit of an enigma at the moment. They're hit and miss. And this is about the same time last year when they went on a run of about 9 games to get into the finals in the first place. I haven't seen them have that spark this year, right, to be able to do that. I don't think they're going to do it 2 years in a row, unfortunately for them.
Yeah, no, they haven't had the same year as last year either. It was about this time last year that they started going on their winning streak. I think it was 10-game winning streak before it came to an end in the finals to the Warriors. But late scratching as the teams have been announced a day out, 24 hours out. Dylan Lucas is out for the Newcastle Knights, unfortunately. Kai Pearce-Paul, who was on the interchange bench, comes into second row, and Matt Croker comes onto the interchange bench in jumper number 18. But look, both teams had the bye last week. The interesting fact there is that Parramatta had the bye and actually went down to last position on the ladder. I don't think in history there's been many teams, if any teams, that have gone down when they've had the bye. Usually teams go up. So look, they're under a lot of pressure. Mitchell Moses has been named. He would want to try and get this club over up the ladder as best he can, and especially after that performance on Wednesday night, Parramatta fans will be expecting that as well, no doubt, to try and turn it on and get this win. I think it'll be a close game. One other notable player in this game is Matt Arthur on the interchange bench for Parramatta. He's making his debut, player number 846, obviously son of Brad, brother of Jake as well, so he's making his debut, under 19s State of Origin co-captain as well. Look, I think this will be a close game. I think it's about a 20-16 game, and yeah, you're probably right. I am tipping the Parramatta Eels. I think just out of desperation that they'll want to get off the bottom of the ladder.
Yeah, I think they can swing it together and get on and roll on too. So, like, I'm only going for Knights because the Knights are closer to full strength, but they're not playing very good. So the Eels actually have the guys, they turn it on, then they get off the bottom of the ladder like they've been sitting on there for a while, not doing too well, missing a few stars. So now they're back. They might be able to turn that around the next few weeks. The Storm are up against the Raiders. That's tomorrow night, 7:30, 5 p.m. I don't care who's in for the Storm at the moment. They look pretty good. The Raiders just look not much chop at the moment. I think the Storm are going to do it pretty much in second or third gear. I don't think they're going to get troubled real bad, although people going, oh, Canberra have a good record against Raiders, against the Storm. Yeah, maybe they do, right? So they're not playing real good this year.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. First place taking on 10th place, and look, the Raiders, they were disappointing last week against the Tigers, and a near full-strength Storm side down in Melbourne. Storm should get the job done quite easily, I think. You are right, the Canberra do have a good record down in Melbourne. They've beaten them a couple of times down there. One was in a finals game in 2022. But yeah, just the way that they played last week, very disappointing. And a near full strength Storm side, Jerome Hughes captaining the side at halfback. He's just really leading this team around pretty well. So yeah, I think the Storm will just do it comfortably and stay on top of the ladder.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, I expect there not to be too many glitches for them at the moment. They just grind these games out, state of origin time. The Dragons against the Dolphins. This has been an interesting match because people did expect the Dragons to be down near the bottom of the ladder this year at the start of the year. I was one of them. I thought they'd be bottom three easy. They have impressed me a lot this year. They're up against the Dolphins side, who are very good. And I can't remember who I tipped, but I'm pretty sure I tipped the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins will be able to get the job done. The young guys just keep aiming up every week, and it has impressed me a lot how they're going. They're going to do pretty well when they get into the finals.
Yeah, along with the Bulldogs, they have improved dramatically this season under his second year under Wayne Bennett. The Dragons, they also have improved this season. They sit in ninth spot on 18 points, only 2 points behind the Dolphins. The Dragons are in that logjam of 18 points on the ladder. So, a crucial game for both sides, more so probably for the Dragons, so they can get on to 20 points and get into that top 8, but I think it's going to be an interesting game, this one, I think, because it's one of those sort of unknown ones. I think Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow will be out with a shoulder injury that he suffered in Origin. Reports coming through today that he should be right for Origin 3, but I think he won't play in this game. But the Dolphins have a pretty handy replacement in Trey Fuller, who we've seen during the year fill in for the Hammer a couple of times and do very well. So, look, this game, it could go either way. It's one of those games that's going to be hard to pick. It's at Cogra Oval. The Dragons are actually going in as favourites with the bookies, but I did tip the Dolphins in this one. But look, it very well could go the Dragons.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. The next game, Panthers against the Cowboys. Panthers still without stacked guys, so injuries, and I think they're going to probably sit a couple of state of origin players out. A couple will probably play. Lua, I think he'll play. He'll probably play, I imagine. Not sure if Isaiah Yeo will. He might. Liam Martin, he'll be pretty pumped. I think he'll want to have another run. But, his parent might persevere players, or preserve players so they don't have to burn them out. And the Cowboys, they have not been great this year. Right? 1 minute they look like superstars, look like the Harlem Globetrotters of rugby league. Next minute they look like they've played the Harlem Globetrotters of rugby league, and they could be playing, as who said that they've, and I can't remember who it was, someone quoted that they're not right. They said, if the Dragons want to rate themselves to tomorrow Dragons, well, we're like somewhere else out in central Queensland, some side that's not very good. Went, ooh, that's a rough shot.
That was their coach, Todd Payton, a few weeks ago. I can't remember what game it was after, but yeah, he was the one who said that, I think.
Yeah, so I think Todd Payton, if he can't get good results out of them, not sure if he's going to get sacked before the end of the season, but I'm not sure what his job's going to look like next year at the moment. So I think they'll be looking for another guy. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I expect Panthers will blow through the Cowboys here with no dramas.
Yeah, I think I read today somewhere that all the Cowboys Origin players will be sitting out this game. Sometimes that can be a premeditated thing that the coaching staff have come up with a plan that they, because of the Origin, they'll sit out a game just to not burn them out. It'll be interesting to see how many of the Panthers Origin players back up. I think there'll be a couple, maybe if not all of them, because these players just love playing with each other and getting the job done. So I think they will maybe back up. The good thing about this game is it is on Sunday, so it's a few days after Wednesday night. So the Panthers sitting in second spot on the ladder, they'll want to keep in touch with the Storm to that minor premiership at the end of the year, but I can't see, even when we have seen those Origin players and Nathan Cleary out of this Panthers side, those who step in seem to step it up, and they've got that next man up mentality. So I'm tipping the Panthers in this one. I think the Cowboys will do it tough.
Yeah, it's right. Funnily enough, I don't think Penrith have been playing that good this year, and they're still sitting second. And compare that to the benchmark seasons they've had the last couple of years as well. Not just like, oh, I'm just trying to get sympathy for Penrith. Penrith are a good team. They've been playing good. And their good players have been playing good. If they had all their good players firing as much as they could all the time, they'd be scary good. They're a fair level above what they can play when they play at absolute best. So, yeah, it is starting to become a bit of a two-horse race in the comp at the moment. Except for these guys, the Roosters. So they're a bit of a surprise packet. They've been very good this year. So compared to last year, I tipped them to make the grand final and probably win the comp last year. And I would say they failed badly. They would class that as a fail. And this year, they've been pretty good at the moment. So they're just finding the gears at all the right times. Joey Manu, my favourite player, he's playing good all of the time, which is so frustrating to me. But he's a good player, right? He just annoys me. So, but he's playing against West Tigers now this weekend, so they're going to get a bit. I think they're going to get a bit of a touch footy run, right? So, I think West Tigers have a false sense of hope after last week's win, and they're going to have a tough game on Sunday against the Roosters.
Yeah, definitely. The Roosters have found their place in fourth place on the ladder now, so that top four, which is always crucial at the end of the year. Look, this is pretty much a full-strength side. I guess Angus Crichton will back up again. Lindsay Collins has been named on the interchange bench instead of starting, so Trent Robinson, he knows what he's doing with his Origin players. The interesting one for me is Satili Tupanua in the centre position. He's usually in the forwards, but he's in the centre position this weekend, so that'll be interesting to see. The Tigers, they're 2 from 2. Their last 2 wins have been pretty impressive against the Titans and the Raiders, but they're going to do it tough against the Roosters this weekend. They've got a lot of young players in their side. Sometimes that can be a good thing with the fountain of youth, but against this experienced Roosters side, unfortunately, I'm tipping the Roosters, and I just hope that they don't put a massive score on the Tigers to dent their confidence a lot, because they have been playing some good footy over the last couple of weeks. So this will be an interesting one, but I think that the Roosters will get a comfortable win.
Yeah, I think the Roosters have got 50 in them, quite easy, and Tigers are going to have a bad day out. They're going to have a tough day out. They might be able to put a few points on the Roosters too, because I don't think they're not susceptible to giving up a few tries either, but I just think they've got plenty of firepower, and that's going to make them very difficult to deal with. The thing that's going to go against them a bit is Joseph Suoliti being out. He's such a strike weapon. He's going to be hard to replace when he goes to rugby next season, so I wonder who will take that spot there. So what do you got coming up for the Paracade podcast this weekend, Troy? What's happening?
I've got a lot happening at the moment. I've got a Origin review of Game 2. I've got that one out at the moment. I've got a game day preview of the Eels and Knights round 17 clash out on the podcast, and also a interview episode with former Parramatta Eels player and also played 4 games for South Sydney, Mr. Brian Jackson as well, one of the players that I used to love watch play back in the mid 80s to the early 90s. So that one's all out there, so plenty coming out. There will also be a replay chat of this one for anybody who has missed it tonight live.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm pretty sure Brian Jackson was on the bench for the 1986 grand final. So like the extended bench, know how they used to carry 25 players or whatever? I think he was in the extended list. So he definitely didn't get on the field, but I think you might find that's the case there.
Yeah, he definitely was. And I think we talk about that in the podcast chat as well. But you're right. He was on the extended bench, and unfortunately didn't get a run on the field. I think Peter Wynn and Tony Chalmers were the only players reserves that got a run that day. Yeah,
that's right. So, and Tony Chalmers, for anyone who doesn't know, went on for Mick Delroy when Mick Delroy's head basically just got smashed into the crowd by Terry Lamb. Was it Andrew Farrar? I can't remember. Well, someone chopped his head off
Andrew
anyway.
Farah.
A bit of a ninja high tackle to the head that reckon was only up around the shoulders, although I couldn't see nothing but head and ears.
Probably
right?
get about 12 weeks for that now.
Yeah, it's right. So back in the day, it was all good. I've seen a couple of spear tackles that from back in the 80s and that, which you did them now, like you might never be playing football ever again. Back in the day, didn't even get a penalty. Tells you how things change over the years. Troy, thanks for your time coming on tonight. I hope you have a great weekend, and I look forward to having a chat again next week.
Yeah, not a problem. Anytime, Duckman. Looking forward to it. And listeners, enjoy your weekend of rugby league. I'll be headed up to Newcastle tomorrow for the game, so looking forward to that one as well. But yeah, anytime, Duckman. Enjoy your NRL this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely will do, and I'll chat to you next week.
No worries, Duckman. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. See you next time.